Chapter 6. As within, so without. The ancient aphorism that observes, as above, so below, gives human beings a valuable key to unlocking the unknown. To put it in terms compatible with Consciology, it would be transformed to, as within, so without. In either form, it assists one to chart areas that would seem to be alien to human understanding. Inspection of the physical universe provides an outline of the universe of consciousness. The key to comprehending oneself can be found in the outside world. It is important to understand the emphasis here, or it can send one plunging headlong into the ill-advised search after authority. The search is not directed at locating objects in the outside world per se. The search is directed at locating objects in the outside world that will serve as keys to unlocking heretofore unknown regions of one's inner consciousness. The outside world is of no significance other than the clues it provides one in discovering one's inner treasures. The physical world is a reflection of inner consciousness. Inner consciousness cannot be perceived directly, but can be assimilated into the mind of human beings when reflected upon a medium that the human can comprehend. As consciousness is, its reflection reveals. Is the physical universe important to human beings? Yes, because it contains the clues that enable one to expand one's awareness of consciousness. But it is only a means to an end. Is the physical universe important in the grand scheme of things? Not in the final analysis. It is a means to provide a key to understanding an end. To the extent that the end is understood, the means, the physical universe, fade into oblivion. But that is a prediction of the future. This is the present. The physical universe is now the source of one's principal clues to what is going on in consciousness. Thus far, we have oversimplified natural laws as if gravity were the only natural law extant. It will be helpful here to expand this universe of natural laws nearer to their actual proportions. Science begins with a group of just over 100 elements that are believed to be the basic elements from which all of the natural universe is constructed. Each of these elements has what are referred to as properties. Reference to the properties of a particular element describes the element's behavior pattern, the natural laws that determine its actions. But the word itself, properties, means possessions or characteristics or what is owned. Even though this discussion only involves basic chemical elements, the words that describe them are also adequate for describing the infinitely more complex mental consciousness of human beings. These basic chemical elements have characteristics, which is to say, they have characters. These basic chemical elements have properties, which is to say, they own property. These basic chemical elements take action. They are capable both of initiating actions and reacting to the actions of others. These basic chemical elements have characters. They experience ownership. They can initiate actions and react to the actions of others. Come on now, we're talking about rocks. They don't do anything but sit there for century after century. The most abundant element on Earth is oxygen. It comprises over 20% of the atmosphere, over 85% of the oceans, nearly half of the rocks and minerals, and 60% of the human body. It is present in almost all living tissue, animal and plant, apparently a very important element. Natural laws determine the unique properties of each element. These natural laws acquire human names from the scientist who discovers them, as in Newton's laws. It is important to remember that the scientist does not create the law, but merely discovers what is. Subsequent discoveries provide understanding of how these natural laws interact. Note that in every instance, the scientist is the observer of the interactions of natural laws. Such scientists do not create these natural laws, but merely report the actions and reactions of the chemical elements. Oxygen in the atmosphere is perceived as an invisible gas, a major component of air. Oxygen in the ocean is perceived as water. Oxygen in minerals is perceived as rocks. Oxygen in the human body and in plants is perceived as a component of living tissue. These are an indication of the properties of the single element, oxygen. Imagine the natural laws involved in trying to describe the properties of this one element. Then raise that to the power of 100 as the interactions between elements are contemplated. Suffice it to say that there are virtually unlimited numbers of natural laws. One property of oxygen in the atmosphere is to have no perceivable bulk. One can thrash one's arms through it with no perception of encountering anything. One's sense of touch detects nothing. One's sense of smell detects nothing. One's sense of taste detects nothing. One's sense of sight detects nothing. Yet the human being, whose atmosphere is deprived of oxygen, is dead in a matter of minutes. None of the five senses detects atmospheric oxygen, but obviously the human being does detect its presence or lack thereof. Perhaps the five senses that human beings are recognized to possess are not all that exist. Oxygen in the atmosphere can be compressed or expanded. This atmospheric pressure can vary to a degree that produces tornadoes and hurricanes. Then The human senses have no trouble perceiving the presence of oxygen. Oxygen, under atmospheric pressure, becomes a tornado capable of destroying most any structure that human beings can produce. Oxygen owns the property of being completely docile when present in the atmosphere. In this condition, it possesses almost complete flexibility to assume any shape. This same oxygen combines with some hydrogen to make H2O, and this oxygen, as water, continues to form most any shape conditions dictate, with one remarkable difference. The atmospheric oxygen was capable of being compressed into tornadic winds. This oxygen, as water, now owns a character completely opposite to that of atmospheric oxygen. It is now incompressible. Human beings must be enveloped in an ocean of oxygen gas to live. Immersing the same humans in an ocean of oxygen in the form of water results in almost instant death. The watch for falling rocks signs on mountain highways point out that oxygen in this form can kill humans and destroy their automobiles. On the other hand, most all living tissue requires the presence of oxygen to maintain life, whether the living tissue is animal or plant. This outline focuses on only a few of the natural laws that apply as properties of the one element, oxygen, under different conditions of pressure and temperature, and in combination with a minimal number of other elements. The search after what is a scientist becoming aware of the natural laws that determine the behavior of these elements under differing conditions in combination with other elements. If everything is consciousness, and the purpose of life is to expand one's awareness of consciousness, this process is a search after what is that involves a growing awareness that much more is than that of which one is aware. To be sure, the discovery of how these 100 plus elements interact is an important beginning. But important part 2 of Higgs Field's book, Power, he offers clues as to how these chemical elements relate to consciousness. Einstein's E equals mc squared related energy and mass. Put simply, it stated that energy is mass in a hurry. But Einstein never realized his goal of a unified field theory. Power relates that, quote, always searching for order, Einstein focused on 2 components of existence, mass and energy, integrated with the geometries of time and space. He believed those components could always be explained exactly and predictably. Thus he never considered the third and controlling component of existence, volitional consciousness, the unifying, controlling element of the universe. Consciousness, mass, and energy are the 3 macro components of existence, end quote. In the past, an ether was postulated as the weightless substance present in all the space between matter. The concept was mistakenly discarded when its properties could not be reconciled with those of matter. This fixed existence field is the aspect of consciousness that is necessary to an understanding of the physical universe. Higgs field points out in Zonpower that, quote, this resurrection of an ether, not as a matter or energy field, but as a fixed existence field, reconciles Newton's classic laws and Einstein's relativity with quantum metaphysics, with quantum mechanics, end quote. Energy and mass evolve. Consciousness is eternal, unchanging. In a consideration of the eternal and unchanging aspects of consciousness, change obviously does not exist. But neither does time exist, because time only serves as a means of chronicling change. Without change, a concept for measuring when change occurs is superfluous. In the physical universe, change occurs in cycles that resonate in different rhythms. That is, they are perceived as being different because of the differences in timing or speeds at which changes occur. The ultimate speed in the physical universe is the speed of light. Nothing surpasses it or even equals it. The ultimate in the mental universe is certainty. Nothing surpasses it or even equals it. Everything in the physical universe moves at speeds less than the speed of light. Everything in the mental universe is less than certainty. All are possibilities. Through reason, one is able to explore possibilities that approach ever closer to certainty. The scientific method considers all possibilities. If all possibilities are considered, it is presumed that certainty will be discovered. Einstein's theory of relativity is stated as E equals mc squared, but his theory ignored the third macro component of science, volitional consciousness, and focused on physical mass and physical energy and their relation to the speed of light. Perhaps had he included consciousness in his deliberations, he would have realized his dream of a unified field theory as a theory of certainty. The theory of certainty might be stated as C equals mp squared. That is, certainty equals the mind or mental conscious energy times all possibilities squared. The squaring of all possibilities would represent all combinations of possibilities that exist. It is the recognition of consciousness as the third macro component of existence that provides the missing link to understanding the relationship between relativity and certainty. A particular aspect of certainty needs to be emphasized. It is the total of all possible combinations of factors. Wouldn't one presume that certainty would involve only the possibilities that prove correct? Why would the incorrect possibilities be included in this elite that are the stuff of which certainty is composed? Aren't these loser possibilities supposed to have been disposed of when it was found that they did not measure up? How can one say that certainty includes the correct possibilities and the incorrect possibilities and still claim that the total equals certainty? The problem is that human beings can inspect almost unlimited quantities of possibilities. But human beings have great difficulty looking at the overall big picture. Frank R. Wallace's liaison power neotech discovery refers to it as wide scope accounting. As Consciology puts it, human minds have no comprehension whatever of totality, but instead are confined to contemplation of diversity. Could it be that if we were able to use wide scope accounting to attempt to comprehend totality, that this grouping of the losers and the winners would combine in certainty? Consider a jigsaw puzzle. To begin to compose a jigsaw puzzle, one selects two pieces and tries to attach them. In the jigsaw puzzle of life, there are leftover pieces that do not seem to fit anywhere. Can we conclude that these unused pieces are losers, and that none of them possesses the capacity to rightly connect to another puzzle piece? No, a puzzler assumes that all of the puzzle pieces are necessary to complete the puzzle, and that each piece is uniquely equipped to supply the connection that no other piece is capable of providing. Again, from Higgs field and Zonpower, quote, "When dealing with infinity, relationships among time, distance, knowledge, events, and probabilities become meaningless, resulting in seemingly bizarre situations. Consider a realistically impossible event here on Earth for which the odds are 1,000,000,000 to 1 against occurring. When put in the context of infinite time, such an improbable event will not only occur with absolute certainty, but will occur an infinite number of times. Throughout infinity, whatever is theoretically possible becomes an absolute certainty that occurs an endless number of times." End quote. One could jump to the conclusion that right behavior has no more value than wrong behavior. It's all the same in the end. Even the simple example of the jigsaw puzzle can correct that error. Each situation is unique. The pieces of the jigsaw puzzle can be judged by shape. They can be judged by color. They can be judged by shading. They can be judged by where colors change abruptly, indicating that something ends and something else begins. They can be judged as to the orientation of each piece, as to which edge represents the top and which the bottom. They can be judged as to the focus of the view on each piece that might indicate the distance relationship between different pieces. Even though the identity of most puzzle parts are only recognizable when several pieces are combined, sometimes a single piece will include a large enough part to identify it from looking only at the one piece. Of course, the jigsaw puzzle example fails to compare with the complexity of real-life examples, where the possibilities appear to be unlimited. Consciology tells us that human beings are limited, incomplete, and imperfect. What does that tell us regarding this jigsaw puzzle example? We are always working with only part of the puzzle. We never have all the pieces. We are not going to complete the puzzle. If that is somewhat discouraging, it shouldn't be. It is a fact that our limited, incomplete, and imperfect existence is one of relativity, not certainty. It is a fact that there is only one right way to solve a particular problem, and that all other solutions to that problem are wrong and without value. On the other hand, there are an infinite number of problems that need solving. If it is possible to anticipate the future, then it is also possible that each wrong answer to one set of possibilities will potentially be the right answer to some other problem in need of solving. The problem may not be that the individual has the wrong answers per se. The individual may possess the answers to questions not yet asked. Every problem is also a possibility in need of a solution. Every individual possesses unique solutions to problems that will not be solved except by their unique capabilities. There is a space in the jigsaw puzzle that only they are uniquely qualified to fill. The radio psychologist Dr. Tony Grant signs off with, "Take good care of yourself. You deserve it." Many among her listeners regard this as something cute to end with, but are unwilling to regard it with much seriousness, because they know that she can't know who is listening to her broadcast, and therefore cannot seriously believe that all of her listeners are deserving of this good care that she wishes for them. In fact, the broadcast may well be received by inmates in the penitentiary, where society has decided that they do not deserve good care, for surely freedom must be a component of good care. Society has decreed that these killers and thieves and what have you deserve bad care in retribution for their transgressions. Consciology points out that sifting evil through the veil of reason leaves only error, and that all are incomplete, limited, and imperfect. So the difference between individuals is in the number of errors they make. And remember that as long as freedom of choice exists, errors can be corrected when one chooses to be taught and to learn. When one is taught to recognize what is and chooses to do so, errors are diminished. Potentially, all can choose to take good care of themselves, and all do deserve it. Regardless of past errors, each individual is destined to occupy one's slot in the universal jigsaw puzzle of life, and is richly deserving of that destiny. Without reveals the consciousness within.